Hi everyone, this is Nancy at Sipping N Painting Hampden. We're located at I-25 in Hampden in Denver, Colorado. And today we're going to paint a beautiful painting called Forest Shadows. This one is super easy, so for you beginning painters, you will enjoy this one, I'm sure. And I'm going to enjoy it for sure. So what you need, as always, our primary colors. I'm going to teach you how to mix. We need black and white, and then we need blue, yellow, and red. Okay, and I'm using acrylic paints today. Acrylic paints are they dry in about 5 or 10 minutes here in the dry area in Denver, Colorado, this dry climate. And acrylic paints are permanent, so be sure you always put your water brushes back in the jar, your water jar, when you're finished. I'm going to be using a large, medium, and small brush. The large is flat, the medium is flat, the small is round. Okay, pretty easy. So if you have 3 sizes of brushes, you're good to go. And I have my napkins and my apron and my water bottle. Again, my business is Sipping and Painting Hampden, so we do sip here, but it is the middle of the day, so I'm going to go ahead and sip water. All right. Normally at our studio, we sell beer and wine, and we have music on, but because we're putting it on YouTube, we took the music off so that we can just paint, and you can stop and start as often as you want, and you can paint this painting with music in your home. Are you ready? Let's do it. Thanks. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I took my brush out of the water jar. I always start them out there. I'm going to cover one side of my large brush with white paint. I'm going to cover the other side of my large brush with yellow paint. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to let this paint mix by itself on my background by just doing that. My horizon line is going to be right about there. So all this is going to be bright yellow. Now, in the original painting, it's a little bit green, so I am going to pick up some more white and then just the tiniest bit of blue on my dirty brush. See that? And then I'm going to just streak that in. I'm going to go for a textured lime green look. And I know that sounds crazy to have this texture. I'm going to pick up a little bit more yellow, a little more white. All right, all we want to do is we're letting it mix on the canvas. I'm being lazy today. I don't like to blend my paints too well before. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to add a little bit of moisture to my canvas. Let me do that. Denver's so dry, that I have to, before I paint, I have to add water. So add a little water. It makes my paint a little smoother. Now, if you're in Seattle or Vancouver or Louisiana or someplace that's really humid. I grew up in Michigan. It gets really humid there during the summer. If you are in a place that's very humid, you won't need to spritz it so much or add drops of water because your paint won't dry out so fast. So again, the reason I like to blend on my canvas is it gives me a background that has a little texture in it. And by texture, what I mean is some variations in that color. Okay, now in the original, this is brighter and whiter in the center. So I'm going to pick up white on my one side of my brush. I'm going to pick up a little yellow on the other side, but more white than yellow. And then I want to really concentrate that white in this more center portion. Okay, and you can start in the center and blend out if you want. You could put it on any way you want. The strokes really don't matter how you do it. This is kind of nice to go around and around. It just feels good. It's very zen feeling. But if you don't want to do that, you do you, okay? Now, some people might be a little fussier than I am, and they might have blended out these colors first, and that's fine. You can blend them first on your plate. I'm more of a messy painter, and I like to blend them on the canvas. I'm just doing that again. All right, oh, that feels good. Nice and smooth. And I'm just creating kind of a focal point in that background by just adding more white in the center, circling out, or you could crisscross out. It doesn't really matter. That takes away some of your circle strokes. For the background, the strokes don't really matter too much, but I do like that center area of just light pouring in. It's really nice. Oh, you hear the sirens? I'm painting this on June 12th. It's still pandemic time. I don't know when this is going to go. If you're watching this in the future, you'll know better than me, but it's been rough. Our studio has been closed for a few months, but we're painting and we're having a good time alone, painting and making YouTube videos. So, you know, sometimes the universe tells us to slow down, relax. Ooh, that's kind of fun. Put some lines in there. All right. So notice again, I'm not concerned about streaks. I'm not concerned about anything. I'm just getting on this background that's kind of light, yellowy green. Okay. All right. And I'm just making sure this is nice and yellowy, and oh, it feels good to move my arm around and around, very zen. All right, so I've got streaks. I've got all kinds of streaks going on. Nice background. All right, now I can let that dry. I'm going to put my brush in the water, and I'm going to let that dry a bit. Then I'm going to wipe it off on my napkin. So I have a, oops, it's still yellow. Wash it again. Dab it on my napkin. You can tell if your brush is clean by how much paint comes off when you wash it in the water and then dab it off. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the foreground, this part down here. This is the background, this is the foreground. And I'm going to go ahead and paint that in while this dries. I can prop my painting up a little bit that way to do the bottoms more easily. And the background of this painting is a lot of dabs. See that? We have dark blue, we have lighter blue, and we have purple. And then later leaves are on it with green and some highlights with white. So we're just going to do the purple underpainting, pardon me, the blue underpainting first. Okay. So make sure your brush has moisture on it. I'm going to pick up some blue. And I'm just going to dab. I'm going to do a little blue underpainting here, okay? All right. This is just my blue, okay? Remember, my horizon line was right about there. It doesn't matter if it's straight. I always tell people, we don't usually do straight lines. People say, oh, I can't paint a straight line, or I can't draw a straight line. Well, you know what? We never draw straight lines because we do a lot of landscapes here. And it's extremely rare in nature to have straight lines. So if you're doing it like I'm doing it, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. So I made a line across the horizon. I'm pulling down dabs of just plain old blue. That's all it is, just plain old blue. Just plain old blue, nice. And I'm filling in most of the areas with this, they're about 2-inch vertical stripes just coming down. Not stripes, but dabs. Anytime you dab your brush, that's called stippling it. This is like a dab and pull. They're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches long. Okay, good. So I've got that. Now I am going to mix a little bit. Here's my red. Here's my red. And then I'm going to put in a little blue. I want to make a lavender color or a purple color. I'm going to pick up a little white. I have to be careful not to pick up any of the yellow that is dirtying up the white. And I want to keep going back and forth between my blue and my white and my red. My red is kind of thin, so it doesn't have a lot of pigment. It's going to need lots of red, I think. Plus, phthalo blue is a very powerful color. It's a beautiful color, but it's really powerful. So you need to put more of the other things in when you're mixing. And normally this red is a little more powerful, but right now it's kind of sad. It's a little watery. But we'll make it work. There are different shades of red. And if you use magenta, it's going to mix differently than, magenta mixes differently than, let's say, fire red or cad red. Cad red? Wait, there's cad yellow. Oh, wait. No, not cad red. Alizarin crimson. That's what I'm thinking of. All right, anyway, there's different colors of red. So this one, I don't know what it is. It's just the red I pulled. So if you just have primary red, you just mix away until you get something that you're happy with. And I just keep adding more red. I'm going to add some more white in a minute here. Because what I'm going for is purple. Purple, purple. All right, I'm going to need a little more red, a little more white. Hopefully this white's going to help us out here. Looking purple yet? What do you think? Kind of drab. I think this red. I think I'm going to go with a different red next time. All right, but you know what? It's pretty good. It's good enough, right? Perfection is the enemy of art. You just keep painting, keep practicing, keep having fun, and you're going to start to create things that you really love. But they're not always what you love the first time. That's okay. All right, so we've got some purple. See, against there, it looks more purple. Purple on my canvas. And I'm going to also streak in some purple. And I'm going to do it, I'm going to add a little more white because you can't really see that. Okay, so I'm going to streak in some purple areas too. Yeah. So I'm going to put these mostly toward the center. I'm not quite sure why this painting has them mostly toward the center. All right. And yeah, let's just keep doing that. I'm going to also pick up a little white on my dirty brush. White on dirty brush. I'm going to streak that in too. Okay. So basically all I'm doing is I'm dabbing, 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 dabbing. And what this is this is a forest floor. Now, we don't know what kind of plants are growing on this forest floor that would give us blues and purples, and then we're going to put on greens, all these cool colors. We don't know. But when I look at the colors in this painting, it kind of reminds me of in Texas, they have forests that have bluebells. And bluebells, I think, are this pretty bluish, purpley color. And I've never been to Texas except to the airport. And I don't know anything about this, so maybe you could comment in the notes below for those of you on YouTube. But I understand that those beautiful bluebells can be in forests. Now you can pick up some dark phthalo blue. Again, my brush is just dirty. Oh my goodness, I have the dirtiest brush, but I don't care. I'm just dabbing and I'm letting things overlap and coexist, and they're just making friends. And sometimes they're blending, inadvertently they're blending, but I'm not trying to make them do that. It's just happening. And that's what I want. I just want some nice dabs in there, okay? All right, good, 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 good. All right, now I'm going to put a few in the sky too. Isn't that crazy? And I'll tell you why. This painting has some leaves. So apparently these dabs are some kind of leaves on a tree. Paintings don't have to make sense. They really don't have to make sense. But there's some dabs. And so these are the dabs that are behind the tree leaves, behind the tree trunks. And so we put those on first, and then we put the tree trunks over it, and then we put more leaves on top. So, all right, we've got some of those. Now I'm going to clean my brush. And boy, is it messy from all those colors, but that's okay. This is fun. All right. Clean my brush really well. And you know what? This is a dry up here, and I still have this space in the center. I'm going to add a little more white. A little more white. Uh-oh, I got a dab down there. That's all right. Happy accident. We're going to make that work. No problem. I'm just going to circle out. I want it to be that there's this big sunshine back there. Woohoo, sunshine. And you know what? I can just mix in this too. No worries. I dropped a little yellow, but do you see me fussing about it? Absolutely not. No fuss. No fuss. This is an impressionistic painting. And what that means is, it was funny, the master of Impressionism was Monet, and they asked, when he first started painting, they thought his work was unfinished because it looked choppy and kind of amateur, really, compared to the Rembrandt, the realistic paintings of the day. And he said, he defined Impressionism as what you see when you've looked at something and then closed your eyes and imagined it or looked away. What you're left with is not the exact detailed image, but you're left with the impression, the feeling, the emotion. And that's what we're doing today. We're making an impressionistic painting, and it's an easy one, and it's going to be really cool when we put the trees in and draw all these colors together. All right, now one thing in the original painting that I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of squiggles too. Not the black ones, we're going to do those, but there's also some, not choppy lines, but some squiggles. So you can also squiggle on some, so it doesn't look too choppy, and you can squiggle, okay? If you want to squiggle, do some squiggles, okay? Squiggle, squiggles. When you have lines that point toward the center, it brings your eye to the center. Kind of a cool trick that nobody notices. All right. So we broke up some of that choppiness with some squiggles. All right, good. How you guys doing? All right, cool. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to start painting our happy trees. Yay! Happy trees, happy trees. All right. Let me tell you about trees. Let's learn about trees. Trees are always wider at the base and then get thinner as they go up. See that? Wider at the base, thinner as they go up. Bob Ross used to call that foots, that they needed foots. All right. So this is not Bob Ross class. You teach those. Those are oils. All right. So to make that, you have a lot of paint on your brush at the beginning, and you press harder at the bottom, and then you twist and less pressure, and you go up. But that makes it thinner. So a lot of pressure at the bottom, and then you twist and you go up, and that gives you less paint at the top. And anytime I add more branches to that, I'm going to start in the trunk and then go out. I'm going to start in the trunk and go out, okay? And that makes the branches thinner than the base. And then for the branches on top of the branches, we're going to end up using a finer brush. So let's start. I'm going to start with my medium brush. You'd be surprised how thick you can get with a medium brush. And I'm going to press harder at the bottom, pull up and twist. And don't make your tree straight. There are no straight trees in nature, okay? I always start at the bottom, I go through the trunk, and then I pull up, okay? Now my brush, let me do that again. You can do it again, but just be careful so that you don't make your branches too thick if you go through them again. Just lighter touch as you go up. And then make sure that your branches are sticking out of that tree in a different spot on the trunk every time, because branches don't grow out of trees like arms do on the side of your body. It'll start on one side, the trunk will grow up, and then they'll have a branch coming out of the tree just on one side, and then it'll grow up a little bit more, and then a branch coming out of the other side, or maybe up on the same side. So you want to be sure to vary where your branches come out of the tree, okay? And of course, there are thousands of different kinds of trees probably out there, but in general, all right. And then let's see, we'll make some that are just taller, not so many branches. Tall. Then I'm going to have that one go off to that side a little bit. And then again, notice how I'm twisting and pulling up so that my branches get smaller. Now I can doctor those tips of the branches with my baby brush. I'm going to come back through with my baby brush. But I'm getting the bases on. Okay, don't make your tree trunk straight. Trees are never straight in nature. Go out and look at a tree if you don't believe me. They're never really straight. Animals come in. All right, so I've got 3 on that side. I'm going to do some over here. Whoop, and twist. Start at the base. Whoop, and twist. Start at the base. Whoop, and then come out somewhere else. And make it wavy and bumpy, okay? And then another one. And this, sometimes they're going to be a little closer together and sometimes a little farther apart. And these are all with my medium brush. I'm going to come back and fix them up with my baby brush. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right. And wiggle and pull as you go up on those branches, because the more wiggly your branches, the more realistic your painting. So wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Don't make it straight. No straight lines in nature. No straight lines. All right, and then we can have some thin ones by turning the brush on its side and wiggle, 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 wiggle. Come back up through the trunk. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Start at the base. Start at the base. Always start at the base. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, make it wiggly. Again, I'm going to come back and fix up those ends of my branches so they're not so messy. Okay. All right, and you can have a tree lean and crisscross in front of another one. That's allowed. Do you ever see that in nature? Absolutely. All right. So I've got that on. While I have some paint on my brush, nice and thick, this brush, I think I need a new brush in general. This black line on the original comes down there, and it's okay if I pick up some wet paint, no big deal. I'm just reinforcing that horizon line. Okay. All right. Well, I've got all this paint on my medium brush. I'm going to go ahead and put in some shadows in front of these trees. Ready? This is how you do it. You wiggle and pull down. Start at the horizon line, wiggle and pull down. And this time, because I have more paint on my brush at the horizon line, they're going to get thinner as they go down. Twist it. Turn your brush as you go down. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Those are the shadows. Wiggle, 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 pull down, and have it get thinner as you go down. Okay, those are the shadows. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Nice. All right, now I'm going to take my baby brush. I'm going to chisel it in the water a bit on my plate. Chisel, 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 chisel. And what I mean by chisel is I'm pulling it backward and twisting at my fingers so I can get a slightly finer point. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a couple little, those skinny trees in there. Just pull those up. There's one. I'm going to put another one over here next to that tree. These are just baby trees that are just growing, so they're thin. And I couldn't do those with my fat brush. So that's what those are. And you can twist it and pull it up and end wherever. Okay? Maybe there's one behind this tree. All right. Now I can take that chiseled baby brush and I can just neaten up those tips of the branches a bit. I'm spinning my branch as I go, my brush, because I want to get finer points. This is, you know, you don't have to obsess about this. What I don't want to see you do, and this is really important when you're painting a tree, always come up through the trunk and go off into the sky. If you grab a branch from in the sky and come down, more paint's going to be deposited in the sky. And then you're going to have a cactus because those branches are going to be thicker up there. You don't want that. You don't want a cactus unless this is a cactus forest, in which case knock yourself out and do a cactus. So these are some of those thinner trees I was telling you about. And I'm just starting at the base, pulling up, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Starting at the base, pull up, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. You go right in front of your sun. Do trees grow in front of the sun? Yep. So you can't just have the sun bare. You gotta put stuff in front of it, behind it. No, not really behind it. You can't get behind the sun. All right. No, I'm just being silly. Okay. All right. And I'm going to do one more. This painting's called Forest Shadow. So the sun is back there casting shadows on the foreground. All right. Okay, nice. Now with the same thing with that brush, I'm gonna wiggle, 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 pull down, get it smaller toward the base. Wiggle, 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 pull down, get it smaller to the base. Wiggle, 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 pull down, get smaller to the base. Wiggle, 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 pull down, get smaller to the base. Got that? All right. Anywhere you have a big brush, you can put a tiny little wiggle. I mean, a big limb, because you have to think upside down though. This is the upside, this is the shadow of it. So I'm going to have a branch that's got to go in the opposite direction. And I'm only going to do that with the big branches. I'm not going to waste my time with the, you know, all those small ones. Just, you can pull little shadows off anything that splits. Anything that splits. That's kind of a big one. And that's definitely a big one. And my paint is still wet. You know, some teachers would have you wait, and they, you know, if we were at the studio and we were doing this, I would probably let all this dry. And then I'd tell you, go get a drink at the bar. But while you're painting, painting is supposed to be fun. And I don't like to stop painting. There's an artist, a movie, and I've said this in some of my other videos, where someone was painting a woman, and the woman asked, how do you know when to stop painting? And the artist said, no, she said, when is a painting done? And the artist said, when you stop painting. So anyway, I need to stop with those shadows. Shadows are kind of fun. All right, do you see it coming? Do you see it now? All we need to do now is I'm going to clean my brushes, and then we're going to put on some brighter leaves in front. Oh, I need some green. I need some green foliage in there too. Hold on. Probably should have done that before my black, so I'm going to let that dry a bit. And we're going to squiggle in some green in that foreground, okay? But first I'm going to let that dry because that's pretty wet. Up here it's a little drier. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pick up a little bit of my blue, pick up a little bit of my white, that's yellow, and then pick up a little bit of my white. There you go. I know my colors. I taught preschool for 11 years. I ought to know my colors. Okay, now I've got this much brighter shade of green, a little darker than our background, but oh, that's pretty. See that? That's a pretty shade of green. All right. I don't want to go any thick places. You can tell if a painting's still wet. If you look at it from the side and it's shiny, you can see where the shiny parts are. So I want to avoid any area. This, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can stop now and let your painting dry a little bit. Oops, sorry. You can let your painting dry a little bit, and then you won't go over any areas that are wet. So it's a good time to stop, get up, get a cup of coffee or a beer, come on back 5 or 10 minutes later and let it dry a bit in between. But I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to be careful that I don't put any leaves over wet areas. So I'm just going to put some of these. Notice I have the yellow and I have the green and the white, but it's streaky. I deliberately left this streaky. And I'm just going to pop on some leafy areas on the spaces that I can tell by looking at them that they're dry. They're dry. And I could do it down here too. Wherever it's dry, you can do it. Don't put it in the wet areas. Like I said, I could do this video over again, but I probably should have put on these green leaves before the black paint. You know, sometimes when you're painting, you change your mind. Is that okay? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not hurting this a bit that I'm putting some of these on top of those shadows. Black is pretty powerful. It'll come right through it. We'll be able to see shadows underneath these. All right, nice. And I put them in clusters. Not so many speckled ones, I guess. Okay, and I'm going to keep on going on this background. I picked up a little more yellow this time. I want variety. My brush is really dirty. That would drive some people crazy. If you're an accountant or you have a job where you don't like to be dirty, you like everything to be neat, my picking up different colors on my brush at the same time are probably going to drive you crazy. But you know what that might mean? That might mean that you need to do this more often and get a little crazy. Because if you can't get crazy when you paint, where are you going to get crazy? You got to get crazy sometimes. It's good for your mental health, right? So I'm tapping on some different colors. And let's put some up in the sky too. Why not? I'm only going to put them where it's dry. I'm not going to put any in a big clump of black paint because then I'd have to fight it. But I'm going to put it where it looks pretty dry. Again, if it's shiny, if you look to the side and it looks shiny, leave it alone. Give it a few minutes to dry. All right, it's fun. I'm having a good time. Are you? All right. I love tapping on foliage. I have so much time, so much fun doing that. This is a really easy painting. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. That's why painting is really good to do with a glass of wine. Don't overthink it. Just relax and have fun. If you don't smoke wine, we're in Colorado. People do other things here. Plenty of other things. Just relax. Just relax. All right, isn't this fun? Tapping on, and I'm not using just yellow or just green or just white. All those colors are blending on my brush. What do you think? I think it's kind of pretty. Think so? And maybe you want to squiggle in some shapes in those. Maybe there's a little bush back there. Maybe it's popping out its side here. This is dry. You can put a little bush. And what I mean by that is this one's dry. Maybe there's some foliage right here that's shaped like that. We don't know what it is. Yeah, maybe. But I have to be careful. I don't want to do it where it's not dry. If I tap it kind of in this cluster, looks like maybe there's some kind of little bush there. Why not? It's your world. You do it your way. All right. Now, I always like, oh, and I don't know what that is, but you know what? These are like foliage kind of shapes. So remember I told you this was impressionistic? Just go with it. Just do what feels good. Remember I told you, let's see, I lost my train of thought. There's a siren going on. Lots of sirens these days. Okay. I'm going to step back. I'm going to look at my painting from a distance, okay? Now remember, this was the original. Mine's different than the original. Mine's different than the original. My purple's not as pretty. I might go back and touch it up with a little more purple. If you have a purple that you like better, you can put a few more leaves in there that are just purple, okay? But if you don't, that's okay. Every painting's different. When Bob Ross would paint his paintings, he would do one. I'm a certified Bob Ross teacher too. Those are different. Those are oils. But some friends, mutual friends in Florida, from where I got trained, there was a woman who was friends with him. She recently died, really sad. Her name was Ellen. But anyway, Ellen told me that he would paint one painting just before the show, and he would give it to his producer. Producer would say, "Good, Bob, I like that. That's the one." And then Bob would also practice that painting about a half hour before the show started, just so he was ready. So that made a second copy of the same painting. And then he would do a third copy on air. And that's the one that he would leave at the station for the PBS station so that they could auction it off. Right here, I just mixed up a little more of that purple. Okay, so this was, I think that this red that I used was a fire red, and it was a little watery. So next time I do this painting, I'm not going to use fire red. I'm probably going to use a straight on magenta. But just so you know, as you paint, you're going to be experimenting with colors and your favorite paints, and that's going to come with practice. So that purple's not quite as vibrant as I would have wanted, but it's okay. I'm just going to know the next time I'm going to use the magenta if I want a really vibrant purple. Okay, anyway, so I was telling you, so Bob would make 3 different paintings of the same composition, and each one looked different. Now that there's a Bob Ross museum in Indiana, and they have a Bob Ross warehouse in Baltimore, I think it's in Maryland. Anyway, and they also have the Bob Ross studio down in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. That's where I got trained. They have a bunch of his paintings, and if you ever see those paintings and you see 3 of the same composition, his one for the producer, the one that's 30 minutes before the show, and one that he did on the show, each one looks totally different. Totally different. It's the same composition, but your paintings are going to look different depending on your mood and your how much sleep you had the night before, and if you're hungry, or if maybe you're hangry, or maybe you your paints are a little thinner or thicker because of the weather, or maybe you learned something the first time you painted it and you said, I'm not going to do that again. So every time you paint the same composition, you're going to get a different painting, and that's why I love these paint and sip studios. We'll get 30 people in here, not during the pandemic, of course, but in general, and everyone will create a different painting. You'll have 30 different paintings, plus the teachers, another one that's different. And oh my goodness, it's so beautiful to see the personality come out in the painting. Beautiful. I love it. And sometimes people are sad that their painting doesn't look like the teacher's painting, and I have to tell them, embrace it. Embrace that, because that's showing your unique beauty in the world and how you show up in the world and what you have to say to the world, your own personal expression. It's beautiful when yours doesn't look like the teacher's. Beautiful. Embrace it. All right. So here we go. I take my baby brush and I'm just going to come down here. I'm finished. I'm calling this done. And I'm going to put my initial in the corner. I just use my baby brush and I just put 2 initials. Boop, boop. And that's it. Oh, you know what else? All right, I always say I'm going to be done, then I'm not. If you want to put a few little white ones in, you can do that as well. You can just put some white ones on. And sometimes leaves look white. If the sunlight is hitting them just right, leaves will look white. They'll be kissed with the sun. Especially if you put on the edges of the dark ones that are already there. They'll just look like that's just being kissed. The sun is just kissing it, giving a little sparkle. So that's kind of fun. If you want to don't overdo the white, but where the sun is, if near the sun, where the sun would be hitting something, go ahead and put some lighter leaves, some lighter colors. And that's just going to tell your eye, oh wow, that sun is powerful, and it's kissing everything around it. Everything it falls on, it's just kissing them. All right, nice, very nice, very nice. All right, I don't want to overdo this. I always overdo foliage, and it's funny when I work with my staff, they're all professional artists. I just learned how to paint by these paint and sips, and I have a good time. And then I took the Bob Ross training too. Again, this is not Bob Ross. I have to tell you that every time because they have a copyrighted unique system, and it's great. And I'm going to do some of those videos soon too, so watch for those. But anyway, so sometimes my staff laughs at me. It's like, oh, there's Nancy with all her leaves again. Okay, all right. So, and then in the areas down here where the sun would be shining through the brightest, you can put some more of those little white specks, okay? And that's just going to show, and don't put them on top of the black, those white spots. This is where the sun is shining through. It's peeking through all of those areas. Because remember, this painting is called Forest Shadows. But to have shadows, you have to also have light. Shadows and light, they're best friends. They hang out together. If you don't have shadows, then your light isn't going to look good. If you don't have light, your shadows aren't going to look good, right? So this is called Forest Shadows. And so we need some light in there. Oh man, I could do that all day. Isn't that fun? Isn't this great? I love it, having a good time. Up close, this painting looks horrible. But you know what? I went to Paris last year. It was my husband and I have been married 35 years, and when our last son graduated from college, we decided to treat ourselves because we, for 35 years, sacrificed so much and to put our kids through, save money, put our kids through school, that when our youngest son graduated, we decided to do something nice for ourselves, and we went to France. And when we went to France, I was really fortunate. We went to Monet's garden at Giverny, and we went to all the museums we could possibly go to, all the art museums in Paris. And boy, that's the center of the art world right there. Okay, sorry, New Yorkers, you're not. It's really Paris. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. There's great art in New York too. But anyway, so we went to Paris. We went to all these wonderful museums. We saw all the masters, original painting, all kinds of original paintings and sculptures, and it was the most amazing week of my life. But it was funny. Monet's paintings looked terrible up close. Terrible. They look like a kindergarten class walked through barefoot on top of paint and then walked on paper. Up close. That's how bad they look. But when you step back 10, 12, 15 feet away, then you see it. Then you see it. It doesn't come to life until you step back and you see everything working together. It's kind of like if I had a glass of wine, but I didn't have a few nuts and a few grapes, and maybe a few chunks of cheese. I'm vegan, so vegan cheese. I don't really enjoy that wine quite as much, but when I have a little snack like that and have a nice glass of wine, it's the same thing. It's when things work together that their beauty really shines. All of those elements come together. So I'm going to show you this up close, and you're going to say, oh, that's terrible. But then farther away, looks nice. All right, want to see? Okay, see? All we did, we just dabbed. All we did was dab. That's all we did today. We just dabbed. Oh yeah, we made some lines, some crooked lines. We dabbed and we made crooked lines. And that's what Monet did too. All right. And this one was nothing but dabs and crooked lines too. So, dabs, crooked lines. Dabs, crooked lines. All right, guys, thanks for painting with me today in the impressionistic style. Oh, I just added some paint to my shoulder. That was fun. Thanks for painting with me in the impressionistic style today, and I hope you enjoyed painting forest shadows. And I hope you also learned a few things about painting, namely, just get in there and paint. Don't be fussy. Don't worry about making anything straight or perfect. Let your personality come out. Enjoy your painting. All right, bye for now. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next video.